What's up, guys? It has been with 2020 election predictions, and today I want to do an updated forecast. We are only 9 days away from the 2020 presidential election between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And right now, I have filled in here are kind of all the states which I have a fair amount of confidence in right now. And the states that I don't have filled in are these six states, or I guess seven, including the state of New Hampshire, that I think will determine the 2020 election. I have Donald Trump and Mike Pence at 187 electoral votes, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris at 228. Definitely, Joe Biden has an advantage, and I'll get into this later. But if Donald Trump can kind of recreate his 2016 miracle or come from behind victory, which he definitely can do, and we see that the polls in each of the Rust Belt states are about the same as they were 4 years ago. So if the polling error is the same, it's going to be as close as it was. I mean, remember, Donald Trump only won these three states by under a percentage point in each. So even if it's just a half a percentage point towards Biden, I mean, it's still a very close race, but Biden could pull it out. So let's kind of go into these states one by one. I kind of want to start out with Texas, Iowa, and Ohio. So in a bunch of the models, including like the 538 model, Ohio and Iowa are seen as kind of pure toss-ups. If we go here, we can see on the 538, Iowa very very close, and Ohio, but even 538 has Donald Trump with a small advantage. I think because of how great the polling error was in 2016, when Donald Trump was only projected to win these by like 1 or 2 points. Donald Trump won by over 9 points here and by 8 points in Ohio. So I think it'll be less than that type of margins, but I'm expecting 2 to 4%, which has it in the lean Republican column. Texas has been polling. I think the Real Clear Politics average has Donald Trump by 2 or 3. I think that's probably where it will go. I don't think Texas is going to go blue, and Joe Biden doesn't need Texas to go blue, as I will kind of go off earlier. New Mexico, Colorado, Virginia. I don't think anyone's going to argue with me. These states have definitely gone to the left. In the state of Nevada, I think this definitely could be a likely Democratic state, but with the Hispanic population, they've actually been moving towards Donald Trump, unlike some of the other demographic groups. So I think that Donald Trump could be competitive here. I still have this in the lean Biden column. The state of Minnesota, oops, definitely has shifted over the course of time. I previously thought it was going to be a little bit more competitive, but I think this is kind of right on the likely D, lean D status right now. So that's where I see it right now. Joe Biden winning by about 5 to 6 points. Okay, so moving on into the forecast, the first state that I want to call is the state of New Hampshire. I think New Hampshire is probably going to be a lean Democratic state, although it was the closest state in 2016. I think we've seen this state move a little bit towards Joe Biden. It is true that Donald Trump held some rallies here today, I think, with a pretty large turnout. But still, I mean, just because of COVID, Donald Trump can't really host his massive rallies like he did in the past. And I think you might see the silent majority be kind of more on the Biden with his a lot of early voting and a lot of mail-in voting, but still, I think Donald Trump could be competitive up here. And also, while we're up here, I do think that Donald Trump is going to carry the second district here. I think it'll probably be by a lean Republican margin. So I think right now they have it as very very close. Donald Trump barely winning, but I also predict that too. So, all right, moving on. The next state I see is Michigan. I think this is going to be a lean Democratic column. We can see that all these states in the Rust Belt on the polling, they're about like 4 or 5. But Michigan, I think, is at an average of 8. I did see the Trafalgar group that Trump actually was up in the state, but we also see some very high quality polls that have Biden plus 12 and plus 13. And it's hard to overcome a margin that is that great. And if we take an average of more of the high quality polls, it's about like Biden plus 9 right now. So, this is the state where I think that was most surprising in 2016. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, not as much, but Voter turnout in Michigan was down in 2016, especially among Black voters. So I don't think we're going to see a repeat of that, and I think we see the Biden campaign investing a lot of time and money into kind of TV ads there. So next up, I want to go to the state of Georgia. Georgia, I'm right in between having it a lean, and a tilt characterization. Right now, I'm going to have it as the tilt characterization. I do think Donald Trump is going to win this state. The Senate might make it a little bit more hectic, but I still expect Donald Trump to carry this state. I think this could very well be kind of a pure toss-up in 2024 as we kind of see the urban area of Atlanta growing more and more. And I think we're going to see a lot of people from California and maybe New York moving to this Atlanta area, kind of making it more blue. But I think that Georgia right now is pretty interesting. I mean, with Brian Kemp, and then with like Doug Collins and Kelly Wolf, where we have people kind of in charge and who are running for office that are kind of more, I would say, kind of on the they're very conservative people. Doug Collins and Kelly Wolf are still trying to out conservative the others. So I think this might alienate some moderate Republican voters, but I still think this will very narrowly go to Donald Trump at the end of the day. Next up is the state of Florida. If we just look at the polls, we would say it's probably like a pure toss-up or maybe even a tilt towards Biden. But if we look at the early voting data, we can see that the Republicans are closing in on the gap more than they ever have. And not that all the Republican early voting people are going to vote for Donald Trump, but this has been a pretty good indicator in the past. And in 2018, when we saw a large polling error by the likes of about 3 to 4 points, I think that's why we see on Predicted that Florida has swung a lot in the past like 30 days or so. It was the Democrats were prepared or were ahead by about like 59 points, and now we can see it's kind of flipped, and we have the Republicans. This is right because of the early voting data right here now. So even though in the 538 forecast they have Florida in Biden's column by a pretty significant margin, the 538 doesn't account for the early voting data that I think the people on Predicted, the bettors, are going to look at more. And then next up, I want to go to the state of North Carolina. I think on the Senate level, it could be very ironic if kind of the sexting scandal is kind of what maybe makes the Republicans hold their Senate majority. We have a fairly popular incumbent governor here, so I think that definitely gives Biden an advantage. But Donald Trump won North Carolina by 3.5 points, and I think that the ship is going to be right around 3.5 points. If it shifts 3 points towards Biden, then Donald Trump will still win it, and that's kind of what I'm estimating right now. But North Carolina is still very, very neck and neck, and I think it's going to come down to the wire at the end of the day. Next up is the state of Wisconsin. So I think in the Real Career Politics average of polls, it's about 4 to 5 points. And so if this margin holds and we have the same polling error like we did in 2016, then Donald Trump would carry the state. The reason why I still have Michigan right now, I have it between lean and tilt. And I think right now I'm still going to call it lean. It's going to be right around 2 points, I think. And the reason why is because there hasn't been any polls that have Donald Trump kind of knocking on the door. Even if we look at the Rasmussen and Trafalgar group, they still have Biden up by 2 to 3 points. And if we're going to say that the Trafalgar and Rasmussen polls, because they were the most accurate in 2016, if we're going to put all of our kind of energy into those, then Trump is still losing. So I think Wisconsin, there's 9 days left. If we have something else like the cumulator, then I think Donald Trump very well could turn it around and win one of these states. But right now, the Rust Belt is looking a little bit more solid for Biden than it was for Hillary Clinton. But there's still 9 days left, a lot of time for Donald Trump to make up his advantage. Next up is the state of Pennsylvania. I also have Pennsylvania kind of on this tilt to lean characterization. I did have this as a tilt state before. I'm moving it very narrowly back into the lean Democratic state. I think it's going to be between 2 to 3 points for Biden. But again, if we see the same polling error like we did in 2016, then Trump is going to win this state. So we're kind of in that same territory that Hillary Clinton was, but I don't think we're going to see the upward momentum or the significant upward momentum that Donald Trump got in the last 10 days because we we don't have as big of an October surprise with the cumulative. There's still time left, but we've seen that already 50 million people have voted. So maybe a late October surprise is not going to have as big of an effect. So we can see that very narrowly puts Biden over the top at 278. Just feel on the last side, I think Arizona right now is a tilt Democratic state. On the predict it, we can see that it's one of the closest states now. It's actually, I think it's at 55% now, so about the same as Florida. Oops. But right now, I think with Mark Kelly, and Mark Kelly just got embroiled in a scandal, so we'll see if that matters that much. I don't think it will that much. We've kind of seen with the polls in North Carolina and the Senate race, they haven't changed that much either. So I think people are kind of hard into their partisan gridlock or their partisan voting, and they're not accounting for scandals as much. And lastly, in Nebraska's second district, I think this is very narrowly going to go in the Biden column. So right now I have it 290 for Biden and 248 for Trump. And so, I mean, this is a closer margin in terms of the electoral votes than it was in 2016. But I think that Biden is going to have larger margins than Trump had in the Rust Belt. But all Trump needs to do is win 2 out of the 3 of these states, or win Arizona and win one of these to win. So by no means is this election as over right now. And I really think that the 538 forecast, they're at a 13% chance for Trump to win, while the predicted is at a 41% chance. I think that this is a little overinflated for Trump, and this is a little underinflated for Trump. But I definitely do think that the predicted number is a little bit closer, because I think what's kind of priced into that model is kind of the early voting returns and maybe some non-tangible factors that I think are important to consider. The polls don't mean everything. So here's my final prediction. Please let me know what you think of this, and I'll have a new video tomorrow on the Senate, so please watch that.